For the first time in 7 years, North Korea launched a rocket carrying a satellite on Wednesday morning. Now, that attempt ended in failure, but the regime says it will try again in the near future. For this edition of Weekly Focus on North Korea on its first spy satellite, we have our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji with us. Welcome back, Eun-ji.
Thanks for having me.
So, Eun-ji, first off, Wednesday's launch was North Korea's first satellite launch in quite a while now, right? Walk us through that launch first.
Right, the launch was North Korea's 7th satellite launch attempt so far and the first since 2016. It was supposed to put the regime's first spy satellite into orbit, but ended in failure. Seoul's military said the rocket fell into waters off the west coast of South Korea, around 200 kilometers west of Eocheong-do Island. North Korea state media said the second stage of the rocket malfunctioned and said Pyongyang plans to carry out a second launch as soon as possible.
Right, that sounds concerning considering that the North may be on the verge of launching a second one, right? Now, when can we expect that to happen then?
Well, North Korea had previously notified the IMO, or the International Maritime Organization, that it'll launch a spy satellite between May 31st and June 11th. Seoul's presidential office and the country's defense minister have said there is a possibility that the next launch could be conducted before June 11th. So it's likely that the North will carry out another one within a few days.
So the launch itself was a failure, right? But it caused quite a panic in parts of South Korea, including here in Seoul, because a lot of people witnessed that evacuation warnings in the morning.
That's right. South Koreans in Seoul, including myself, woke up to air raid sirens and mobile phone alerts on Wednesday morning at about 6:30 a.m. Residents in Seoul all received alert from the Seoul city government telling people to get ready to evacuate. People who received the alert during their morning commute said they were left wondering how to respond to it. But about 20 minutes later, the country's interior ministry sent out another message saying the alert had been issued in error. Seoul Mayor Oh Se-hoon later apologized for the confusion, but defended the decision, saying the alert might have been an overreaction, but it was not a mistake. The launch also prompted warnings on Eocheong-do Island off South Korea's west coast and located below the rocket's flight path. Residents there were quickly ushered into shelters as public speakers blasted out warnings for 20 minutes.
What a warning for both South Korea and Japan. Now, it was May 31st when North Korea conducted that launch. That was just a day after the regime announced its official plan to do so, right? Now, was that a hasty decision or was that timing calculated? I mean, what's experts' take on this?
Well, some local reports suggested a rushed attempt by North Korea led to a premature launch and technical setbacks. But experts say that North Korea only made the decision because they deemed they were fully prepared.
By late Monday afternoon, they were likely in a state of full readiness, having identified no issues with the missile or the space launch vehicle. Given the absence of structural and data-related problems, they would have seen no reason to postpone the launch.
Others also suggest that it was part of North Korea's plan to throw South Korea off, as North Korea's high-ranking military official Lee Byung-chul announced they will launch the spy satellite into space sometime during June, just 2 days before the launch.
Do you think Lee Byung-chul didn't know that they are going to launch a rocket today? He did. But then, why do you think he said that they are going to fire one in June? I think there is a possibility that they were trying to throw us into confusion.
Then that leads to our next question. How did the international community respond to the Wednesday's launch then?
Well, South Korea's allies, including the U.S. as well as Japan, were quick to denounce the launch. A Japanese government spokesperson said Tokyo has lodged a complaint against North Korea through diplomatic channels in Beijing. He also said that Pyongyang's continued actions threaten the safety and security of the country and the international community. Over in Washington, the White House also strongly condemned the launch, which it said uses ballistic missile technology. It also said U.S. President Joe Biden and his national security team are assessing the situation in close coordination with their allies and partners. As for China, its foreign ministry spokesperson said meaningful talks between related parties are needed to resolve each of their concerns. Also, the IMO adopted a resolution condemning North Korean missile launches for the first time.
So, as you said, the rocket fell into the West Sea, and South Korean authorities are working to search and retrieve the debris of that rocket. This is as of Friday, right?
Right, they've already collected what's believed to be part of the second stage propulsion system.
Right, for more on the debris, let's turn to our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Mo-kyun and her report.
South Korea continues efforts to search for and retrieve more parts of North Korea's space launch vehicle that was found floating in the sea along the west coast of Eocheong-do Island on Wednesday.
We have dispatched ships and aircraft to recover more debris and are conducting an operation to salvage parts of what North Korea claimed was a space launch vehicle.
Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff says the size of the debris found by the military is around 15 meters long with a diameter of 2 to 3 meters. The military shared pictures of a large cylindrical object floating in the sea, but it dropped to the seabed at a depth of around 75 meters. The vehicle, dubbed by North Korea as a Cheolima-1 rocket, is estimated by experts to be around 30 meters long, which means the debris is around half the entire portion. The Navy has mobilized warships, aircraft, and divers, but there are restrictions, including poor visibility and time constraints. South Korea's Defense Minister Lee Jong-sup says that the salvage operation could take around 2 more days. Speaking to lawmakers on Thursday, Lee reported that the already identified part of the wreckage appears to be the second stage of the rocket, and that the military is working to trace the third stage and the payload. The minister also said that the technology used to build the rocket looks identical to that for making an intercontinental ballistic missile. Regarding the site of the launch, Lee said that North Korea's latest launch took place at a new launching facility built in a site in Dongchangli, Pyeongan-bukdo province. Kim Mo-gyun, Arirang.News.
That was our North Korean Affairs correspondent Kim Mo-gyun and her report on the latest update on the debris from North Korea's space spy satellite. Now, I guess we'll have to wait and see until the operation is over, Eun-ji, right? To see what we can discover from that debris from the space rocket.
Right.
All right, thank you so much for your wrap-up this weekend.
My pleasure.